Hey everyone, welcome back to Gold Rush Reporter, your trusted source for real talk about gold, silver, and the world of honest money. I'm your host, and today we're diving into something truly important, something that goes far beyond just charts or prices. We're talking about how money itself connects to freedom, and why the system we're living under today might be on the verge of a historic turning point. Now, before we get into it, if you're serious about understanding what's really happening behind the scenes of the financial world, make sure you subscribe and join the discussion below. I want to know what you think, because today's topic affects every single one of us, whether you stack silver, invest in gold, or just try to protect your savings from inflation. All right? Let's get into it. The truth is, gold will always have a connection to whatever monetary system we end up with. It has for thousands of years. From ancient civilizations to the modern digital age, gold remains the anchor of real value, the ultimate measuring stick of trust in money. But here's the thing. We are now approaching the end of a grand monetary experiment that began on August 15th, 1971, when President Richard Nixon closed the gold window and officially detached the US dollar from gold. That single decision changed everything. What followed was the birth of a completely fiat system. Money backed by nothing but government promises and faith in central banks. At the time, it was presented as a necessary adjustment, a temporary measure. But here we are, more than 50 years later, living entirely inside that experiment. And the cracks are starting to show. Recently, an important article by silver expert David Morgan, titled "Freedom Dies When Money Lies," laid it all out perfectly. He explains that throughout history, whenever money loses its integrity, freedom soon follows. The connection isn't just a coincidence, it's cause and effect. When a currency is corrupted, when it no longer holds real value, it begins to infect everything else: personal independence, economic fairness, and even the moral strength of society. Think about it. Money isn't just a tool for buying things. It's the foundation of trust, the invisible thread that connects all human cooperation. When that thread weakens, society starts to unravel. People lose confidence in saving. They stop believing that their hard work will still be worth something tomorrow. And when that happens, they turn to speculation, risk, or even government dependence to survive. That's exactly what we're seeing today. Central banks print endless money. Governments pile on trillions in debt, and average people are left struggling to stay ahead of inflation that keeps eating away at their purchasing power. Honest savers get punished, while reckless speculation gets rewarded. The whole system is flipped upside down, and the result is what Morgan calls the invisible handcuffs of fiat money. So when we talk about the end of this grand experiment, we're not just talking about economics. We're talking about freedom itself. Every time a nation abandons real money, gold and silver, the outcome is always the same: collapse, corruption, and control. History has a 100% success rate on that point. And right now, the warning signs are flashing all around us. Inflation isn't just about prices going up. It's much deeper than that. It's a hidden tax, one that most people never really see but constantly pay. It slowly eats away at your savings, your purchasing power, and ultimately your independence. When the government or central banks print new money out of thin air, they're not creating wealth. They're simply stealing time and value from those who earn their money honestly. This is where the truth gets uncomfortable. Inflation rewards debt and punishes discipline. It encourages people to spend recklessly, to live on credit, and to believe that they can always rely on cheap money to bail them out. Meanwhile, those who save, those who work hard and try to build something real, get left behind. This is the silent mechanism that transfers wealth from the working class to the financial elite. As David Morgan explains, when money lies, freedom dies. That's because inflation forces people into a constant state of dependence. Think about it. If your savings lose value every year, you're pressured to take on risk just to keep up. You can't stand still. You have to speculate. And when a society starts living on speculation rather than production, it becomes fragile. It's like building a house on sand. Now, here's what most people miss. Inflation isn't an accident. It's policy. Governments and central banks know exactly what they're doing. By allowing inflation to rise slowly over time, they can make debt easier to pay back in cheaper dollars. It's a clever trick, but it comes at the cost of destroying the very foundation of trust in money. Let's put this in perspective. Back in the early 1970s, when the US went off the gold standard, 1 ounce of gold was around $35. Today, it's over $2,000. That means the dollar has lost more than 98% of its purchasing power in just over 50 years. That's not just inflation. That's a slow-motion theft of value, masked as economic growth. And it's not just about numbers. Inflation changes how people behave. When prices constantly rise, people stop saving and start hoarding. They rush to buy things before prices go up again. Businesses raise prices not because they want to, but because they have to keep up with rising costs. Soon, the whole system becomes addicted to money printing, and no one can stop. In the process, real money, gold and silver, gets pushed aside as old-fashioned. But those who understand history know that gold and silver have never lost their value. They've survived every empire, every currency collapse, and every economic lie. They are truth in physical form. The kind of truth no government can print. So when we talk about inflation today, we're not just talking about numbers on a chart. We're talking about a loss of trust in the entire financial system. The more the system lies about what money is worth, the more freedom quietly disappears. It's not always obvious, but it's happening every single day. In your grocery bill, your rent, your savings account. Once a monetary system reaches the stage where trust is gone and inflation is no longer under control, governments begin to look for new ways to maintain their power. And that's exactly what we're seeing right now. Around the world, central banks are quietly moving toward a new kind of currency, central bank digital currencies, or CBDCs. On the surface, they're being sold as modern, efficient, and convenient. But beneath that friendly packaging lies something far more dangerous: total control over money, and by extension, over people. Let's think about what digital money really means. If your money exists only in a central bank's database, then it's no longer truly yours. It can be tracked, frozen, or even deleted with a keystroke. That's not freedom. That's the financial surveillance. It's a system where every transaction, every purchase, and every donation can be monitored. And if the system decides that your behavior doesn't fit the rules, your access to funds could be limited or denied. This is the next logical step in a system where money already lies. After all, when paper money lost its gold backing, it became nothing more than numbers printed by decree. Now, those same numbers are going completely digital, removing even the illusion of physical control. Governments will be able to decide how and where you spend, or even if you can spend at all. And here's the key point. This kind of control doesn't happen overnight. It's always introduced as something helpful. They'll say it's about fighting corruption, preventing fraud, or helping those without bank accounts. But history teaches us that once a system gains power, it never gives it up voluntarily. The transition from cash to digital is not just a technical upgrade. It's a shift in the balance of power between citizens and the state. Think about what happens when money can be programmed. A government could decide that your money expires after a certain time to encourage spending. Or they could set spending limits on specific goods, like fuel or food, under the name of climate policy. They could even tie your access to funds to your behavior, your credit score, or your compliance with new regulations. This isn't science fiction. It's being discussed right now in policy circles all over the world. And this is where gold and silver come back into the picture. These metals are not just investments. They're instruments of freedom. They exist outside the digital system. They can't be hacked, deleted, or tracked. When you hold real metal in your hand, you hold something that's immune to the lies of the financial system. Its value you can see and touch. Something that can't be created out of nothing. That's why, as analysts and investors, we keep saying that physical gold and silver are not just about profit. They're about protection. Protection against a world that's quietly moving toward total digital dependency. When fiat money collapses under its own weight, and when digital money becomes a tool of control, those who hold real assets will still have freedom of choice. In a world where money lies, truth has to be something you can hold. And that truth has always been measured in ounces, not in algorithms. Throughout history, every time a government has tried to replace real money, that is, gold and silver, with paper or digital substitutes, the outcome has always been the same. It begins with promises of stability and progress, but it always ends with debt, inflation, and collapse. The pattern never fails, because the foundation of the system is built on something that isn't real. When money stops being a store of value and turns into a tool of manipulation, it loses trust. And once that trust is gone, the whole structure falls apart. Let's take a quick look back to understand this cycle. Ancient Rome debased its silver coinage to fund its military campaigns, gradually replacing real silver with cheaper metals. Eventually, the Roman denarius became almost worthless, and their economy imploded. Fast forward to the early 20th century, Germany's Weimar Republic printed paper marks endlessly to pay war debts, leading to hyperinflation so extreme that people needed wheelbarrows full of cash just to buy bread. Even in more recent times, the same pattern has repeated. In the 1970s, when the US left the gold standard, it unlocked the ability to print unlimited dollars. And while that created decades of economic expansion, it also planted the seeds for the massive debt and inflation problems we face today. Now, as central banks continue printing money and governments rack up endless deficits, the same warning signs are flashing again. Here's the scary part. This time, the system is even more fragile. We've moved beyond just printed money. Now we're living in a world of digital promises. Trillions of dollars, yen, euros, and yuan exist only as digits on screens. And when confidence in those digits breaks, there's nothing tangible to fall back on. Unlike a silver coin or a gold bar, digital money has no intrinsic value. It only exists because people believe in it. But what happens when that belief fades? We start to see cracks, stock market volatility, rising inflation, and the loss of purchasing power. When people realize their savings buy less each year, they start searching for alternatives. That's when gold and silver start to shine, not because they changed, but because everything else did. This is why, as a gold and silver analyst, I keep emphasizing that these metals are not just investments. They're anchors of stability in a world drifting away from reality. They remind us of what real value feels like. And when the current system, propped up by endless debt and digital promises, finally corrects itself, those who hold physical assets will be the ones standing firm. In times of financial instability, markets can swing wildly. Prices can fall sharply before rising even higher. That volatility scares many investors away, but in truth, it's part of the cleansing process. Just like a storm clears the air, financial chaos clears away the illusions. The system burns through the lies before rebuilding on a foundation of truth. And in that rebuilding phase, history shows that real money, gold and silver, always returns to center stage. We're not just heading toward another correction. We're witnessing the slow unraveling of a global monetary system that's been stretched to its limits. Whether it's debt, inflation, or digital control, every warning light is flashing red. But it's also an opportunity, because while most people panic, a few understand that this is the moment to prepare, to convert paper promises into physical reality, to move wealth from what's fake into what's forever. As we reach the conclusion of this discussion, one truth stands above all others. Sound money equals real freedom. Every civilization that abandoned real value for paper promises eventually paid the price. What we're witnessing right now isn't just another economic cycle. It's the final chapter of a global monetary experiment that began over 50 years ago when the US dollar was severed from gold in 1971. Since that moment, the entire world has lived under a system of fiat money, a currency backed by nothing but faith. And like all systems built on belief rather than substance, it was only a matter of time before the cracks began to show. The inflation we see today, the endless debt, and the growing financial instability are not random problems. They're symptoms of a deeper flaw. A currency system that was never meant to last forever. But here's the thing. Out of every collapse, something new always rises. And those who understand history know that when paper fails, precious metals reclaim their place. As the cornerstone of trust, gold and silver don't promise value. They are value. They don't rely on governments, central banks, or algorithms. They're the one form of money that has never gone to zero, never defaulted, and never needed a bailout. When you hold gold or silver, you hold independence. You hold something real in a world full of illusions. As the system shifts toward digital currencies and new forms of control, physical metals will remain the quiet rebellion, the choice of people who refuse to be trapped by invisible handcuffs. And make no mistake, the powers that be will continue to push digital money as a tool of convenience. But behind that convenience lies a new form of control, one where every transaction, every purchase, and every savings decision can be tracked and limited. That's why the message is simple. Don't wait for permission to protect your wealth. Understand that gold and silver are not just investments. They are your insurance against the collapse of trust. While others see chaos, see opportunity. While others panic, prepare. The monetary system may be nearing its end, but for those holding real money, this is the beginning of something much greater. Because once again, history is proving that fiat currencies fail, but gold and silver endure. They've been the foundation of trade, freedom, and wealth for thousands of years. And as the global system resets, they will take their rightful place once more. So, as we close today's discussion, remember this: freedom dies when money lies, but it's reborn when money is real. Gold and silver are that truth. Thanks for watching Gold Rush Reporter. I'm your analyst, bringing you clarity in the chaos of the financial world. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs to understand what's really happening behind the headlines. Until next time. Stay informed, stay independent, and keep stacking real wealth.